So the 2018 NBA draft is officially a wrap, and now we sit there and wait probably 3 to 5 years to actually figure out who got it right and who got it wrong. But where's the fun in that? Let's go ahead and pretend like we actually know what the hell happened years before we actually figure out what the end result is going to be. That's what I'm here to do. That's what you're here to talk about. So let's talk about the winners and losers from the 2018 NBA draft. I'm going to start off with the winners, rapid fire here. The Boston Celtics getting Robert Williams, the power forward / center from Texas A&M at pick 27. I thought was pretty good value considering there was talk about him being a late lottery guy, potentially top 16 to 18 range, and he goes 27. He feels like a guy that could potentially come in and contribute at least some minutes on a really good team as a rookie. When you talk about the Celtics, to be able to get a guy that could potentially contribute even a little bit right away for a team that is potentially on the cusp, the precipice of being a championship team, that's pretty good value when you can get it. I look at the Denver Nuggets, being able to get Michael Porter Jr. at 14 a year ago. Nobody would have envisioned this being possible, but it is the reality of the world. Sometimes crazy things happen, and due to the medicals, Michael Porter Jr., the limited action he had at his 1 year at Missouri, the Denver Nuggets were able to sit in a position and watch as he kept sliding and sliding and sliding down the draft board and ultimately got one of the real boom or bust prospects in this draft class. In 3 years, Michael Porter might hardly ever play because of the back problems, and then the Nuggets just wasted a late lottery pick. But when you're in that position late in the lottery and you're the Nuggets, you have a bunch of guys on your team, but you have that dude. And maybe Michael Porter has some of that dude factor and that dude ability. This could be one of those real turning points in the Nuggets organization's trajectory by taking Michael Porter here, even if he redshirts his rookie season, even if he doesn't play much his rookie season. You're thinking long term. The upside and the star potential is massive, as is the bust potential. But again, at that point in time, if you're the Nuggets, you must make that pick. I'm going to go with my Chicago Bulls. Yes, it's a bit of a homer pick, and they did the very predictable thing, taking Wendell Carter and Chandler Hutchinson. But these were two solid players. These were two solid prospects, and they didn't reach for either one of them, and they were two guys that could come in and contribute right away. I know some Bulls fans are a little bit up in arms talking about you don't try to tank a season to get nice players. You tank a season to get potential impact players and stars, so that way you don't have to continue to tank. Look, I get that, but you're also not going to help it if you swing and you miss huge, and you're going to be right back in that position again for the next several years to come. Wendell Carter can play in that front court. He can play in the 5, so he can play next to Markkanen, and he's got upside more than I think people give credit for here. Chandler Hutchinson's a guy that I envision being able to come in and play a role right away. I thought they were two solid picks for the Bulls. I look at the Phoenix Suns. I'm not the biggest on taking DeAndre Ayton number 1 overall, but they did what was perceived to be the sensible, smart thing. But then to be able to sit there and get a guy like Mikal Bridges, trading up from 16 to 10, trading Zaire Smith and a future draft pick like 2 or 3 years down the road to get a superior player, Mikal Bridges, was really good. Getting the French point guard, Akobo, at the early portion of round number 2, you could draft and stash him. You could potentially bring him over. He's got future starter upside at the point guard position. I thought the Suns did well for themselves. You've got Devin Booker. You've got Josh Jackson. Now you're bringing in DeAndre Ayton. Now you bring in somebody like a Mikal Bridges. Maybe in the future it's an Okobo. You know, the needle's pointing up just a little bit for the Phoenix Suns, an organization that really needed that needle to point upward. But by far the biggest winner of the night has to be Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. Him sitting there and tipping every single pick while not tipping any of the picks technically at all. The thesaurus usage for him last night was extensive. That was freaking epic. Sitting there, they're locked in. They'd be hard to pass on. Telling you who they're taking without telling you who they're taking. Just incredible work. Trolling his employer. Like a lot of us wish we could troll our employer who's telling us, in this case, not to reveal the picks before they're announced on TV. Woj doesn't care. No fucks given. He does it anyways. There's something admirable and respectable about that, and a lot of us wish we could do that type of crap. So Woj was easily, to me, the biggest winner of draft night. Now, in terms of the flip side of that, the losers, I think you've got to go with Michael Porter Jr. This is a guy that a year ago was being talked about a potential number 1 overall pick, top 3 type of guy. He ends up going number 14 overall. barely played at Missouri, had the back problems, concerns about his medicals. I mean, he lost quite a bit of money last night. And while you could say the situation he goes to isn't that terrible, he lost a lot of money. A lot of money. So long term, it could potentially be beneficial to him, but right now, it absolutely was not. When you go from being potentially top 3 or top 5 at the very latest, maybe even being in the conversation for number 1 overall pick, like if Michael Porter was what Michael Porter was supposed to be in 1 year at Missouri, he's going number 1 overall, not DeAndre Ayton. And that's a fact because Michael Porter more perfectly fits what the modern NBA game is about. But he didn't, and he dropped quite a bit. The Philadelphia 76ers, like, it seems so perfect. Pick 10. Mikal Bridges is there. He went to school at Villanova. He won a couple national championships there. His mom is a VP of Human Resources for the organization. So it's one of these things. You look at him, he's a 3-and-D type of guy. Ding dong dumb dicks, just take him and leave it a be. And they didn't do that. They traded him later on, even let the kid go out there and do an interview like he's going to end up with the 76ers only to find out that he got traded to the Phoenix Suns. So that way you could acquire Zaire Smith and a first rounder a couple of years from now. That was a real head-scratching move. And I look at it and I feel like for the 76ers, Mikal Bridges offered more immediate impact and is a better fit playing alongside Simmons and Embiid than Zaire Smith was. But ultimately, time will tell. The Charlotte Hornets, with the situation with Kemba Walker, what are they going to do long-term at point guard? You've got Gilgeous-Alexander's there at 11. He's got size. He's got some skill. There is potential for massive upside there. And you draft him just to trade him so that way you could get a role-playing type of guy in Miles Bridges. Michael Jordan gonna Michael Jordan when it comes to front office. And the people around him are going to do what the people around him do in a front office. Just really dumb. And then I look at the Brooklyn Nets. This was a bad team, and you still have to pay the price for the stupid-ass Pearson Garnett deal all those years back. You don't have the pick. It went to the Celtics and then eventually went to the Cavs, who took Colin Sexton with it at pick 8. So they didn't have their own first-round pick. For a bad team, their first pick in this draft came at pick 29, and they took Zanan Musa. God, hard for me to say. So you're talking about an international wing player who may or may not be ready for prime time yet. In round 2, you take Kurucs, another international player, might be a draft and stash, or at least another long-term project, just like Musa. And then Hamidou Diallo from Kentucky, another long-term project type of guy. So the Brooklyn Nets, yes, you're bad, and you want to swing for the fences, but I just don't know for a team that is bad how much immediate impact they got and if this was the path or direction that they needed to go. Bitch at me if you want. It's just kind of the way I see it. But to me, the draft night was all about one thing. It was Woj. I'm sorry. It just was. He was the biggest winner. It was Wojnarowski draft night, period.